The next item is not an item that involves debates, motions, but it is simply a report. That doesn't mean it's other than extremely important. Communications are at the heart of what we do, and we're very conscious of how Margaret Hawkins, in her various multifaceted role, covers our dealings with the media, works alongside Eva Neumann, who gives us a lot of help in Wexford on our online work, and particularly does our in-house communications via the magazine and otherwise. So a huge brief, and towards the end of the synod, Ms. Hawkins usually cheers us up by singing. I don't think that's going to happen on this occasion, but I think she has another way of bringing her distinctive insights into the atmosphere. So Margaret, and thank you for all you do. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody, and it's good to be here. And the title I gave the report in the book of reports was Caught on the Hop but Rising to the Occasion. And that really summed up our whole communications experience since the first lockdown. And I remember for the first month after it, really, I don't think any of us drew breath. Clergy, bishop, communications officer, teachers, the whole world, secretaries, everything, because the adrenaline was fizzing in the system. And what do we do now? How do we get online? We had very little experience apart from a little soiree into the world of technology for the Pentecost service the previous year. But it was amazing how quickly people really stepped up to do what had to be done, really, to get services out there to people when the shock of churches being closed happened. So it's actually amazing how many people are providing online services. And today there I was putting up the update for online services that I do every week, and I counted how many were now providing those services, whether on Facebook or YouTube or whatever. So it stands at 23 clergy doing it now, so that's like a huge number. And other people are doing Zoom, other people are doing CDs, other people are keeping in touch with parishioners by letter as well. So it's been a massive change. The whole landscape has changed, the landscape of communications as well as worship and everything. So it was great. The RCB really helped out by providing grants for equipment very quickly from the Priorities Fund. So that was a huge help. And we got a cathedral and a church got webcams set up, and other clergy got the equipment they needed, whether it was tripods or microphones or whatever that they needed to help them broadcast. So it was amazing how quickly that happened. And as Carolyn said, it was really uncomfortable for people to be pushed outside their comfort zone, for us all to be pushed outside our comfortable zone. But what creativity, as the bishop said, it has led to. And it is a case of you don't know what you can do until you have to do it or you're forced to do it. And I know with myself, from the time word processors and all came in, it was a case of forcing myself to do it because it was a means to an end, and it speeded up the whole operation of writing and communicating and everything. Everyone has stepped up so well that it's been wonderful. But one remarkable thing about it was just how I saw that family members helped out. Family members, friends, younger people. It was actually a way of involving younger people. There were children teaching grannies to look in at the bishop's reflection. There were people who knew how to make videos, helping out rectors in any way they could. And I think that was great. Yeah. Can you hear me again?
Can you recap about 30 seconds? Sorry.
Yeah, just to say how great it was that family and friends helped out rectors. Clergy who weren't really au fait with making videos and so on. And people stepped up and stepped in and really helped out. And it was actually a bonding kind of experience, I think, for families as well, that the older generations were being helped by younger generations in viewing services and looking at Facebook and maybe getting on Facebook, but being given the tablet and on a Sunday morning and stuck in the table in front of them, and they could participate in the service. So that's been a lovely aspect of it. When you just thinking of the future, we've 23 clergy doing services now. I suppose it's a conversation we have to have in the future about where we go when the churches open up again, when COVID becomes less of a stress than it is now. But that's a discussion for a later date. And it involves those two words that David talked about, strategic and planning. And it's just something we'll have to focus on. But one of the important little things about simplicity that struck me very quickly when the first lockdown happened was the value of text messages. The parishes that had the text message, the group text messages already set up and were GDPR compliant and everything, they were away on a hack with that, because they could communicate with the older generation, older parishioners who hadn't gone online, but they could still get lots of news out to lots of people at the one time. So that between that, the text messages, and the value of the postal service, which I think came back into its own, the magazine subscriptions, those who got it by post had no bother at all. So it was the simple things we can't forget about as well. The other thing was that, basically to sum that up, it was really the overall effort was extraordinary. And of course, the video conferencing, we all had to force ourselves to do this. And I saw lots of people there at the beginning of this getting help from family members as well, just to get going on Zoom. And again, it's a case of, if you don't try something, you'll never know that whether you can do it or not. So it's been a useful insight into how maybe in the future, from an environmentally friendly point of view, that we could get a balance somewhere between meetings we travel to face-to-face, which used to take up a lot of time, tire tread and money, that we'd have a balance between that in the future and video conferencing sometimes as well. On the Knox bequest front, the publications, it was a quiet year, obviously, because of what happened, but Canon Mark Hayden did publish a printed funeral service booklet, which I believe is of great use to clergy at funeral times. And I know that the Reverend Mart Hanley is getting a book together, an Irish language booklet for children. So those are two good things on the publications front. The Bishop's 150 tour, as you know, it's just over halfway now and had to go online. We had no choice with that, obviously. It was a bit of a shame, really, but it was the way it worked out. But I hope that people are enjoying it and will support it. And it's getting a great reaction. And I just checked the donations this morning, and so at the moment it stands on nearly 3,000, 2,945 on offline contributions and 1,443 online donations. One of the big tasks, and Rita was in there again with this, was getting the donate button set up on the website. There's also one that people can contribute to the diocese in general there. So those two things are new on the communications front as well. But so far so good with the tour, and hopefully more parishes will. I think from speaking with a lot of rectors, you know, parishes are going to send in their check just from the parish as time goes on and the tour hits their union or group. So that's wonderful. It's the last thing on the communications front I want to mention is something that's planned for Christmas Eve, and that's the Sing Out for Christmas video project. So we're hoping to have people from all over the diocese singing the same hymn. It came upon the midnight clear. The bishop chose it because it had 32 lines, and therefore we could hopefully get one person from every union or group to sing one line of the hymn, put it all together and give us something lovely to lift our spirits on Christmas Eve. We mightn't make the every union or group, but we'll come close to it, I hope, and it will be something to look forward to on Christmas Eve. So that's it from the DCO point of view. Do you want me to talk about the magazine straight away?
Yes, please.
Great. So just the magazine, obviously, given what happened, the lockdown, everything shut down, it meant that it was such a topsy-turvy time. in trying to publish the magazine. All the photographs relate to the months since the last Diocesan Synod. So they started November with Janet Finley's ordination as deacon. So if you're just wondering there, so there are 2 sets of photographs of them over that time. So it obviously was very difficult. With the lockdown, initially you couldn't go more than 5 kilometres and it was impossible for the courier to go out. We have an excellent courier, Joe Hogan, and his family who print the magazine. They also distribute it and it's been really efficient, but obviously they couldn't get out at that time. We had big trouble trying to decide. The March and April ones went out. The April one, I know we sent it to all the rectors so they could email it to parishioners, whoever was on email, which of course wasn't everybody, but we did the best we could. And the postal ones went out, as I said, normally, so that was an advantage for those who got them by post. We had to decide what to do in May, and that the decision was for a new departure to actually put the whole magazine online. For privacy issues, I certainly didn't want, people's names and the normal parish notes going up on them, though I know a couple of dioceses just put their magazines up there, but I was worried about the GDPR side of things and permissions. So, but we had a COVID-focused magazine just so that it would historically record what happened and how clergy and teachers and everybody were coping with the pandemic. So that was, we decided June that we couldn't replicate, or there was no point in replicating all that. There was no parish news coming in, obviously. So we gave up on the June idea and went straight into the July and August one. I know that means that people are one magazine short, and if the 150 tour had been on the road, the hope was that we'd have an extra issue to compensate for that. But I don't think that'll be possible, given that it's online, and I suppose we can put it down to what's called force majeure, or set it aside for that reason. It's just the way things have happened, but we really did our best with it. So in relation to the magazine itself, I'm just hope that you like the articles that are now in the front of the magazine, just covering what's going on and what people are doing. And I think the stories of what we're all doing are important. They explain what we're at and who we are and where we're going as well, which is really important at the moment. And sometimes just in relation to people pitching things to an editor, sometimes I get articles in and while they're fine, they are just too long and it's impossible to use them all because it would take up space from so many other people. So 400 words is 1 page and 800 words is 2 pages with a good photograph. So that's generally, there'd be 1 or 2 page articles, but I think you can say a lot in that. A producer in RT told me that you can say a lot in 700 words. So I think it's a good exercise too, just to keep it succinct, and it's a useful discipline anyway. The other thing is that I suppose it's not really, that you're trying to reduce the quality. To me, it's improving the quality, that it's not dumbing down, that it's actually wising up to what we need in the current world. I know myself, we're scanners, we're not patient readers anymore, and that you really need to get out of the traps to get to your point fairly quickly to hold people's attention, because there is so much out there, whether it's Facebook, television, whatever it is, to distract people, that you need to actually keep to the point and get the message across quickly. But as I say, I hate to disappoint anybody when they send in an article, and I try to be as kind as I can. I've been there myself, so I know what it's like to be asked maybe to reduce something in word count, but it just has to be done sometimes. The other thing is, a good few people now are taking the digital copy of the magazine, which is great. They're getting it by email, and Joe Hogan is now putting it in the simple, straightforward page 1, 2, 3, rather than the printer's layout that used to go out as PDF. So I'd ask people to bear that in mind if anybody wanted it by email, that it would come like that, and it's a good option to give as a present to people as well, if they wanted to take a subscription for it. The photographs,
Margaret, excuse me, can I ask, is that going to be in colour?
The digital copy, yes. Yes, it's just as you see it, as you get it. You get the colour pages where there are colour pages. Yeah, it's on the screen, the same as if it's being printed. So, I just have to say, the photographs of churches. That was one thing I had asked in rectors in the report, if they could take photographs or fresh photographs of churches, their individual churches in their diocese. And because a lot of them on the website are back from Herbie's time, and they're quite old from when the website was set up in 2013. So it's when we were doing the 150 tour, the bishop will know, trying to get the pictures of the churches to go with the audio for that year, that visit. We found that some of the photographs weren't great quality. And I'm delighted I've got some lovely fresh new ones, especially down from the Cashel, Tipperary, Clonmel area from Laura Friday. But I'd hope to get more in the future so that I could update the website as well. So it's, anyway, it's an ongoing process. I should have mentioned the website as well. It's, it needs kind of constant attention. I suppose it's our shop window. I do things as quickly as I can and get posts up about whatever comes in that's really important. And it's good to have Eva Newman's help with that. She looks after looking after the website from the technical point of view, making sure it's all secure. The website is actually secure now, as in it's we have what's called an SSL certificate, and I think all the dioceses have to have it. So we had to have that, especially when we were taking donations on the site. So that's all done. And I just finish off by saying that thanks to Canon Michael Stevenson, he retired as chair, and to Denise, of course, but she's not leaving the magazine yet, so I won't say goodbye yet. She's had so much appreciation here today, but it's just, I suppose, hard to say everything, but I know she'll still be helping out, so I'm not going to say goodbye just yet. I want to thank Conor O'Reilly, who's been our deputy editor in 2020, and he's actually going to edit the January issue, so he'll be starting to work on it straight away. And when I have this opportunity, maybe I'd ask rectors if they could get the copy in earlier this month. I have to take a little bit of time off from the 15th of December, but if Conor could get the notes in by maybe the 6th or so rather than the 10th, that would be hugely helpful, and thank you if you can. And I have to thank other committee members like Nancy as well, who's given so many years to it, and Nicola Jacob for doing advertising. And one great thing that's happened is that Trevor Sargent, the Reverend Trevor Sargent, has agreed to be is now chair of the Magazine and Media Committee. So he has lots of ideas and insights about getting the magazine, maybe getting more energy into it, getting rectors to kind of take up the cudgels for it and be advocates and look at it in a fresh way and maybe get it out into the world a bit more. So we look forward to all that, to things happening in the future. And it's, I think that's really it. That's all I want to say. I hope I haven't taken up your time too long, but it's been a pleasure. I enjoy the job, and it's, I hope I've been able to market sufficiently just what's been going on. So, as the bishop said, I usually sing for good or ill at the end of a synod, about whether it's about the what's happened in the parish during the year or whatever. But so little had happened in terms of incidents that it was difficult to do that. But in the end, I decided just to read a poem. It's quite simple, and to explain the story behind it. When the adrenaline was running and the lockdown and everything was so scary, I found that at night time I needed to do something very simple. So I took to the needles. I looked in the wool box and see what came out, and started knitting rectangles. It was just the repetition, the therapeutic aspect of it, and so on. And anybody who knits will know that. And the sound of the clacking of the needles, it was soothing in some way. But as I started to do that, I decided that I would make a blanket for my grandchild. I became a grandmother on the 5th of February, just before lockdown. So it was a big occasion, but it was so strange, a new baby and all the excitement of that. And then suddenly you could go nowhere, you couldn't see the child except through the window. So it was very extraordinary. But anyway, this poem came out of it, as well as the blanket. And I have the blanket nearly finished. So I'll just read the poem to finish off, and that'll be it then for me. I call it hope because I suppose rainbows are, to me, sum up the promise of better things coming. So I wanted the colour, actually. It was just the colours of the rainbow and the cheerfulness of the blanket with all the colours. So I'll just read it. Hope. I felt the pull of wool, sought distraction in the clack of needles, wanting it and them to ease the pain, the strain of isolation in the year that she was born. Wanting to mark strange times, sew them up neatly, sweetly, stitch them into sense, banish the fear that circled our world with knit one, purl one rhythm. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Create a blanket that would give the two fingers to crisis chaos, be a comfort, a woolen hug that she will wrap around her in time to come, eyes glued to its strength, vibrancy, joy, fingers exploring the textures of stocking stitch, garter, moss. And somewhere in the softness of its cotton back or bound edge, find her name, Millie, and these words, 2020, the year we needed rainbows. Thank you.
Margaret, that was very lovely, and it shows the talent we have at our disposal in our DCO, the creativity, and I hope that will be made more widely available in the magazine or whatever, because one needs to digest that material. So thank you for all you do.